Here are my top 10 waiver ads for week 4 of fantasy football. Number 10, we have Kendre Miller, who's rostered right now in about 30% of Sleeper, ESPN, and Yahoo leagues, respectively, in the aggregate. People are likely disappointed with Kendre Miller after just having 10 opportunities in the absence of Jamal Williams. He was actually outsnapped by Tony Jones this past week, but it was his debut game, and he was moderately impressive on his limited work. Alvin Kamara comes back from his suspension now, so we know that Kendre Miller won't be alone in this backfield going forward. He's probably just a stash. I probably wouldn't spend any more than $5-10 at most of my fab on Kendre Miller, but he is a decent bench option for those of you guys that need some running back depth. Number 9, we have Wan'Dale Robinson. I think this is one that you're going to want to get ahead of. We didn't see a massive performance out of Wan'Dale Robinson in week 3. Before Wan'Dale tore his ACL his rookie year, though, he had 4 games where he looked like he was about to become the Giants' number 1 wide receiver, at least their most targeted wide receiver, and in PPR leagues, we definitely care about that. So in those 4 games his rookie season, he had 8 targets, 3 targets, 2 targets, and 13 targets, 26 targets over that stretch, and he was still kind of getting acclimated to the NFL. He was still a rookie wide receiver. It was about midpoint of the season. He was only playing 70% of the snaps at that point, and then he tore his ACL. We didn't get to see what he would do towards the down stretch of the NFL season his rookie year. This Giants offense is starving for someone to step up in the passing game. They're just begging somebody to become a number 1 receiver for this team. So in my opinion, while you still can, go out and pick up Wan'Dale Robinson now for $0. Hold him for a week or 2. See if his route rate increases, because even in the limited snaps that we saw for him against San Francisco, he still commanded a target on 56% of his routes, and that's, aligned with what we saw from him his rookie season. So as he gets back acclimated to the team, they need somebody to step up in this offense. Wan'Dale Robinson could definitely be that guy, so definitely stash him at the end of your bench if you can afford to hold him for now. Number 8 on this list is Marvin Mims, who's rostered right now in 21% of Sleeper, ESPN, and Yahoo leagues, respectively. Marvin Mims is likely the 4th or the 5th receiver on Denver right now as it currently stands, because he's only running about 28% of the routes through the first 3 games. So he's purely a stash, not a guy that you want to throw into your lineup necessarily. But when the usage corrects itself, because when young players play at a high level like Marvin Mims is doing, usually you get more routes, you get more targets, you get more involvement in the offense, and he's commanding a target on 33% of his routes right now, and that's really impressive considering a lot of the routes he's running are actually downfield. He was an explosive playmaker coming out of Oklahoma. He had a good profile coming out. He was a second-round pick by the Denver Broncos, the first ever draft pick by Sean Payton here. Eventually, he should work into a 70-80% route participation as the full-time slot receiver for this team. So for now, I would probably just hold him for depth, but I do think he has a chance and upside to become a lot more down the stretch of the season. So number 7 on this list is a tight end, Luke Musgrave. The buying window has slammed shut for Sam Laporta right now, because we, saw him have the monster game. We saw him, solidify himself as a top 10, top 6 tight end for the rest of the season. But the same cannot be said for Luke Musgrave. Even though Luke Musgrave is getting every bit the usage that Sam Laporta is getting, Jordan Love has showed that he can, perform at a high level and support multiple options. We still haven't seen Luke Musgrave have his breakout game yet. And I think you getting ahead of the curve, knowing that this guy's available in 20% of leagues right now, is definitely encouraging. You can stash Luke Musgrave at the end of your bench, maybe use him instead of a guy like Kyle Pitts or somebody that's underperforming at this point in time. And then when Christian Watson and Aaron Jones come back, hopefully this week, this offense will only get better. And Luke Musgrave's 80% of the routes and 15% target share will result in a lot more red zone opportunities. So it'll result in a lot more big plays because he's an athletic tight end. He can definitely get downfield. So Luke Musgrave, if you guys are in need of some tight end help, I'd be willing to spend 5, 10, 15% of my fab budget on him if you guys are desperate at that position. Number 6 on this list is Matt Breida, and he's 32% rostered right now. A lot of people went to pick him up last week. Maybe they're going to drop him after this week, whatever the case is. The 49ers absolutely boat raced the Giants. So the fact that Matt Breida didn't get that many touches is not really all that concerning to me, because it was a horrible game script. The underlying usage is what we want to pay attention to, because Matt Breida played 80% of the snaps, and because the raw numbers were low, you probably won't have to spend up a ton on Matt Breida on the waiver wire. If you guys are in need need of wins, maybe you lost Saquon Barkley, maybe you've lost Aaron Jones or Austin Eckler or Mike Williams or any one of these players that have gotten injured and you're 1-2 right now or you're 0-3 right now, Saquon Barkley should be out another week or two if I had to guess, and Breida can fill in right into your flex with the Seahawks and the Dolphins on the schedule, two much easier matchups than some of the ones he's gone up against so far, because the Cowboys are very good against the run, obviously, and the 49ers last week are very good against the run as well. So definitely, if you guys need some production right now, Matt Breida is not a bad option. Next, we have Tyjae Spears, number 5 on this list. Is Derrick Henry bad? Is Derrick Henry washed? Probably not. But I do think that the encouraging usage we're seeing out of Tyjae Spears cannot be overlooked right now, because he is out-snapping a Hall of Fame talent like Derrick Henry. On early downs is really the only edge that Derrick Henry had in that game, and I understand it was a negative game script. Tyjae Spears is the third down back, so he's going to play more in that type of situation. But honestly, we've seen like almost a 50-50 split in positive game scripts so far this season with Tyjae Spears versus Derrick Henry. So in my opinion, you have to be willing to stash this guy, because we got a 30-year-old running back ahead of him on the depth chart who looks like he's maybe lost a step a little bit, and he always could get injured at any point in time. And Tyjae Spears has looked really good in his limited usage so far. I don't think you can start this guy unless Derrick Henry gets injured or unless we see a large sample size of, him out-snapping Derrick Henry. But in any case, you definitely want to stash Tyjae Spears at the end of your bench, as I'm doing right now in my home league. Number 4 on this list is Joshua Palmer right now, who's rostered in only 3% of leagues, respectively. 9 targets per game in the games that Mike Williams was out last year. So that is a big sticking point. Of course, Mike Williams is out for the season. He tore his ACL. Quentin Johnston, their first-round wide receiver, projects into the Mike Williams role as the guy who's going to stretch the field, the guy that's going to take the top off the defense. But to be honest, I'm a little worried that Quentin Johnston might just not have it yet. He's a young receiver. He could always get better, but I haven't been impressed with what I've seen so far. So I will take the devil that I know in Josh Palmer, a guy that I know can get targets. He can get, slot usage. He can get red zone usage when Mike Williams is out of the lineup. He's probably a depth wide receiver for your team. He's not really anything special, but if you guys are in need of wins right now, if you're 0-3 or if you're 1-2, he could definitely fit right into your flex, right off the waiver wire, and be a high-end, wide receiver 3 in good matchups, a low-end wide receiver 3 in bad matchups. So I do think that Josh Palmer is the preferred option for me if you guys are in need of wins. If you're 3-0 or if you're 2-1 and you're looking for a stash, I prefer Quentin Johnston, who won't see an appearance on this list because he's rostered in over 45% of leagues. But I will say, if both Chargers wide receivers are available, I think they're relatively equivalent. It just depends where your team is at. If you need wins, go after Palmer. If you don't need wins, or if you can afford to wait on somebody, then go after Quentin Johnston. So number 3 on this list is Josh Downs, wide receiver of the Indianapolis Colts, currently rostered in only 1% of leagues right now. Josh Downs, for those of you guys that don't know, if you guys are, just coming back to the scene because the season has begun, back in the Dynasty offseason, this was a guy that I was absolutely in love with as a prospect. He posted the highest single season target share of any wide receiver in the 2023 NFL draft. He had a 37.89% target share as a true sophomore with Sam Howell at North Carolina. He has 24 targets through the first 3 NFL games of his career so far. So what we know about this guy is that he's a young, talented slot receiver who can command targets at a high level. Reminded me a lot of Elijah Moore, a lot of Jahan Dotson coming out of school. Posted an 83% route participation this week and appears to be part of an ascending offense, an offense that is running up-tempo, that is actually passing the ball at a decently high rate. Anthony Richardson should be back this week. Other than Devon Achane, really, I think that you can make the argument that Josh Downs is one of the best ads this week. Josh Downs is a great stash, no matter how you put it. If you guys are 2-1, if you guys are 3-0, definitely stash Josh Downs at the end of your bench, or if you just need depth for your roster, definitely stash him. If you need immediate production, Josh Palmer is probably your guy, but I don't think it's outrageous to say that Josh Downs is going to be like a top 45 wide receiver in terms of flex production this week for me, knowing the target share that he's commanding. So he's definitely a decent option this week. I'd be willing to spend, 5, 10, 15% of my fab on him. Number 2 on this list, somehow only rostered in 34% of the leagues. That will probably change after this week, is Tank Dell, wide receiver of the Houston Texans. The last 2 games, he's been the leading target earner for this team. We know he and CJ Stroud have a connection. CJ Stroud pounded the table for the Texans to draft Tank Dell, and it looks like he was pretty right in that assessment. He is an every week flex play going forward with the way that the Texans offense is playing. Very surprising how well they've played, but knowing that he's getting, 82 to 84% of the routes the last 2 games, 23, 25% of the targets. It's kind of a crowded offense there right now because Nico Collins is talented, Robert Woods can still play, and Dalton Schultz can sometimes command targets out of the tight end position. But Tank Dell is proving to be at least the most explosive option in this offense right now. So the number one waiver ad for me this week, probably no shock to anybody, is Devon Achane, running back of the Miami Dolphins, currently 34.3% rostered on average between Sleeper, ESPN, and Yahoo rostership percentages. If you guys are wondering how much fab you should drop on Devon Achane, the answer is all of it. I would drop every last dime that you guys have on Devon Achane. If you have 85 fab dollars, I would throw all 85 down to make sure that I get this guy, because when he was drafted, I was actually not that big of a fan of him coming out of Texas A&M, and it was mainly for the reason that I didn't think he was going to fit every scheme. But fortunately for Devon Achane, he went to exactly the best case scenario for the skill set that this guy has, because he's a great receiving back, he's great on outside zone and inside zone type of runs, and he's very fast. He's one of the fastest running backs in the NFL. He was a 100-meter champ in high school, 100-meter champ at Texas A&M. I said it when he was drafted, and I will say it again. This was the best possible landing spot that Devon Achane could have went to. First real game of action. First real game. He did not really play in week 2. He was a healthy scratch in week 1, or he was still covering from that shoulder injury in week 1. And he gets 22 opportunities and scores over 50 fantasy points. So, again, I don't really love the fact that he was splitting snaps with Raheem Mostert, 42% of the snaps, 42% of the carries. But here's the thing with Devon Achane. This offense is going to be in the red zone. They're going to be scoring a lot. Tua's playing at an MVP level. Tyreek Hill is unstoppable. Jalen Waddle didn't even play in this game, and we're talking about an offense that was able to score 70 points against the Denver Broncos. In my opinion, Devon Achane is a must-start RB2 flex play going forward, as well as Raheem Mostert for as long as he's on the field. And I'm assuming now he's very easily leapfrogged Savon Ahmed on the depth chart. And we know Raheem Mostert is like 31 years old. He has an injury history. So there's a possibility that Devon Achane eats into his workload more and more as the season goes along if he continues performing at this high of a level. You guys can see on the screen how they're using Devon Achane. They're using him on outside zones. They're using him on stretch runs. They're using him out of the backfield in the passing game. This is the type of situation that we dream about for a speed back like Devon Achane. So I'm really, really excited about him. I think I would drop every single last dime of fab on Devon Achane if he's available. Unfortunately for me, I didn't actually start him this week, but he is on my roster already, so I do have to avoid dropping all of my fab in my home league. So that is the end of the video. Again, if you guys were wondering where Quentin Johnston was, like I said, he is rostered over 45% of leagues, so he is not widely available, but if he were available in your league, he would rank third on this list behind Devon Achane and Tank Dell. I would rather have him in a vacuum than Josh Palmer, but I think if you need wins, I would prefer Josh Palmer, like I said. A couple honorable mentions that I didn't get to. CJ Stroud is also a really good pickup if you guys are in need of a quarterback. I also really like Justice Hill as a pickup because he was out with a toe injury last week. We saw Gus Edwards get a concussion, so we could see Justice Hill as a major share of the Ravens backfield this week. And then also Kyler Murray is expected to come off the PUP list relatively soon, so if you guys have an IR spot or if you guys need a quarterback and you have a deep bench or something like that, Kyler Murray is also worth a stash with him first being eligible to come off of PUP in week 5. So definitely pay attention to all those honorable mentions as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, leave a like down below, subscribe to the channel if you guys are new around here, comment down below any of your waiver questions. I'll get to as many as I possibly can. Make sure you have the notification bell turned on for this channel because I answer usually comments very quickly after the video is posted, and then sometimes I get overwhelmed with the amount and then I can't get to as many comments. So if you want to make sure your comments are answered, definitely want to be notified anytime we post a video. If you guys want to check out our sponsors to support the channel in any way, Underdog Fantasy right now is running a special offer. You can get 100% back up to $500 right now with the promo code FSE. So if you put in $500, you'd have $1,000 on the site to play with, do a lot of tournaments, do a lot of pick'ems, all that good stuff. You'll also get a free pick'em special for any new customers that sign up when you use our promo code, so definitely check that out. And of course, when you sign up on Underdog Fantasy using promo code FSE, you will also get our rest of season rankings for free and our weekly start sit rankings, our matchup charts, all that Vegas information that I'm always talking about for free as well. So if that interests you, link will be down below in the pinned comment. Definitely check out our site, flockfantasy.com, promo code FSE. Our dynasty rankings and our dynasty trade value chart will be updated this week. So if you guys are dynasty players, there is no better place to be than flockfantasy.com. Use the promo code FSE for 30% off. You'll get first priority on Dynasty Decisions episodes, and you'll get a free Zoom consultation if you sign up annually over there using our promo code. So with that being said, peace out, and we'll talk to you soon.